Okay, so let's begin. Hello all. Thank you so much for joining us today for another technical training session from Autel. I hope you all can hear me. My voice is clear. If my voice is clear, please say yes on the chat. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. So today we'll be talking about online programming. So before going more into the topic, let me introduce myself. I am Vivek George. I'm the technical support engineer for Autel for the region India, Middle East, and Africa. So as I promised, we'll be talking about online programming and some things which I would discuss before we start about Mercedes-Benz online programming. That Autel's support to online programming. So Autel supports BMW and Mercedes-Benz for online programming without any subscription fees. So, and today and last 2 weeks back, we had another part 1 session of online programming, which was for BMW. And anyone here who have not attended that session can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Autel IMEA, and view the recorded version of that webinar training session. Today, we will focus on Mercedes-Benz online programming. So what is programming? So when a new control module is installed, software codes are needed to activate that control module. So by programming, codes can be written onto that control module. So that's what programming means. So what does this programming do? And so programming can configure the control module and enhance the vehicle system. So you'll understand more of it on the coming slides. So today we'll talk about Mercedes-Benz online programming, and the topics include control module ensures startup, control modules update, control module, SCN coding, teach and process, and the support for online programming for Mercedes-Benz include the highlights for example, for W204, fully support programming and SCN coding for 34 different control modules. And same as for other vehicles, even for W222, we support online programming and coding for major control modules. And this is much more brief version of other support models. And you can check out the latest support models for Mercedes-Benz on our website, autel.com. Check the vehicle coverage. So before we move on to online programming, first we need to know how to set up the preconditions for online programming. So take a look at this video.
Welcome to Autel training video. Before using the MaxiSys Pro to perform ECU programming, connect the vehicle to a stable voltage supply. Make sure the battery clamps are properly fixed. Fully charge your MaxiSys Pro tablet. Connect the MaxiSys Pro tablet to the internet and make sure the network connection is stable to ensure a successful reflection operation. The MaxiSys Pro system allows for either a wired or wireless network connection, either through Wi-Fi or by using the Ethernet cable supplied. confirm the internet connection is successful, check the status icon at the bottom right side of the screen. Connect the MaxiFlash to the MaxiSys Pro tablet using the USB cable. Tighten the mounting screws. Connect the MaxiSys Pro to the vehicle with the supplied OBD2 cable. The MaxiSys Pro makes ECU programming easy with its intelligent, menu-driven, step-by-step instructions. Let's proceed. On the main MaxiSys menu, select the Diagnostics application to initiate an ECU programming session. Follow the on-screen instructions to turn the ignition on and then off. Tap OK and then tap Read Out Vehicle Data. After a moment, the basic vehicle information will display. There are three major function options available. To proceed to vehicle reprogramming, tap CIP. The vehicle's configuration will be retrieved and displayed. Read the screen carefully and confirm by tapping OK to proceed to the next step. At this time in the process, MaxiSys Pro allows the user to tap the Edit button to perform customized SA configurations. If you choose to use this option, make sure to add or delete vehicle information correctly, because improper operations may cause abnormal vehicle performance. And then tap OK to proceed. Upon completion, tap ESC to finish. Tap Yes to save the revised information. After the configurations are confirmed, MaxiSys Pro communicates with the vehicle to obtain the status of each control unit. This may take several minutes or longer, depending on vehicle specifications. Before proceeding to the vehicle reflection process, you need to confirm whether or not any control units have been replaced. Tap the Yes or No button accordingly. Tap the name of the specific control unit you want to reprogram, or select All if you want to perform a complete update. Tap Programming and Coding to proceed. Tap Selective Update to reprogram a specific control module separately, or perform a complete update by selecting all modules. Tap OK to proceed, and the information page will be displayed. Swipe the screen up and down to view all the information. Tap Execute Measures pane to continue. Follow the on-screen instructions to turn off the engine and switch on the ignition. Make sure the MaxiSys Pro has a stable internet connection. The MaxiSys Pro will automatically retrieve the newest update program and start the reflection process. When reflection a control unit, various special functions such as component adaptation or variant coding may be performed, and stored DTCs will be cleared. By selecting all modules. Adaptation or variant coding may be performed, and stored DTCs will be cleared. Session to finish and return to the main menu. Tap Multitask to quickly switch to the main MaxiSys menu. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions about our products, please visit our website or simply call us.
There was a small technical error between that, so the video lagged a bit. Sorry about that. So yes, so you have seen a BMW on that, but the setup of the vehicle and the diagnostic tool is similar for a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz while carrying out the online programming procedure. So as seen on the video, there are certain preconditions that has to be met with the vehicle as well as the diagnostic tool. For the vehicle, which includes the engine must be standstill. So basically the engine shouldn't be on, only the ignition should be on, and engage the park gear, actuate parking brake, oil temperature should be below 80 degrees Celsius, switch off all electrical components. So basically all the power consuming components should be switched off. Connect a battery stabilizer or a voltage stabilizer and set it between 13 to 14 volts. Do not drive the vehicle during programming. Do not switch on electrical consumers. So majorly, this last point is quite important. As you can see, do not switch on electrical consumers. So people tend to open doors, close the doors, and open windows, switch on AC, switch it off. So that is not at all recommended while carrying out the online programming procedure. And like that for the diagnostic tool, as you can see, there are certain preconditions to be met as we have said for the vehicle itself, which includes scan the vehicle and clear all the fault codes before we carry out a programming process. Then backup vehicle individual coding data. So it is always recommended to back up the existing coding data so that in case if it fails due to any reason, programming fails for any reason, we can restore the vehicle system with the backup data. Then connect the charger to the diagnostic tool. So while programming is going on, so we should make sure that procedure is complete, because if it's stopped in between, error codes might be stored into the system. So the diagnostic tool shouldn't get switched off. So make sure you have enough battery charge for the diagnostic tool, or else charge it while doing the programming, carrying out the programming procedure. Connect the USB while performing the programming and switch off the Bluetooth. So basically there's a USB cable which comes along with the tool. So make sure you connect them with your VCI as well as tablet. And it's better to switch off the Bluetooth while this is carried out. Diagnostic tool date and time must be correct. So once the programming is done, the vehicle stores the date and time of this procedure have been carried out. So it is recommended to have the correct date and time before we carry out this program procedure on the tool itself. And internet coverage must be strong. And more than that, it's important to have a stable internet connection. So those are on meeting those conditions, we can straight away go select the vehicle and choose programming. So once we choose programming, we get a list of control modules that are available for that vehicle to be programmed. So we get the full list, and once we get the list, we can choose the list of which control module we want to program. And once we choose the control module that we need to program, it gives us 3 options, which includes control module initial startup, then control module update, and coding. So in the control module initial startup, you can see that online programming, SCN coding, and teach-in process will be carried out together in the control module initial startup. Whereas in control module update, online programming and SCN coding is the only thing which will be carried out. Whereas in coding, it's reference information for various codes that have been stored in that particular control module. I'll explain with more pictures in the coming slides. Yes, so in the main menu, after selecting the control module, if you choose control module update, you will get 2 options to updating of software calibration number, which is SCN coding, and updating the control module software. And if you choose coding menu, you get a lot of informations. It displays a lot of informations, including the model check number, calibration verification number, and software calibration number. So you can note down what is stored into what code is stored in the SCN code is stored in the control module. And now coming to the main part, which is initial startup. So we have 2 options when we come across a control module initial startup. The first one is control module replacement with initial startup of new control module. So, and the other one is initial startup of an already fitted control module. So in the left option, which is, as you can see here, in this option, you can see we retrieve the data, copy to the new control module, then does the SCN coding, and then do the teach-in process. So in this one, we retrieve the data from the old control module of the vehicle. So in case if you are doing the engine control module, and you have the old control module which was fitted in the car, and you can retrieve the data from that car and then copy that data into the new control module which you're going to replace, and then do the SCN coding and then do the teach-in process. Whereas an initial startup of an already fitted control module, the only difference is you're not going to retrieve any data from the old control module. So basically the old control module is not available or it's damaged, so you can't retrieve any data from it. So you program it, you program the new control module, then do the SCN coding and the teaching process. So it's up to your requirement how you can choose one of these options. So once we go into, so let's see an example on control module replacement with the initial startup of a new control module. So we have an old control module where we can retrieve the data from. So for this example, we are going to consider a transmission control module. So in the condition, as we can clearly see, the precondition says the old control module is still fitted. The old control module which was in the car should be fitted into the car, and the new control module is required to be available. So soon after we retrieve the data from the old control module, we have to put that, copy and paste that into the new control module. So then the disclaimer screen comes. Once you proceed to continue, the disclaimer screen comes. Just go through that, and soon after that, it starts reading the data from the old control module. And once the data is read from the old control module, it automatically directs you to the next screen, which says the data were successfully read from the old control module. And soon after that, we can proceed. And on proceeding, the next set of preconditions comes in. So this is where we have to install the new control module. So turn off the ignition, remove the old control module. So we have taken all the data from the old control module. Now we have to move and remove it and install the new control module and turn on the ignition. And make sure you turn on the ignition if the procedure is carried out without turning on the ignition. There will be fault code stored into the system, so which won't be good. It might cause failure to the old process. So this is the time the device gives you to change the control module to the new one. And yes, so once we put the new control module, so it'll ask you to, if you want to carry it out with the process. So once you press S, so once they will ask you if the new control module has been fitted into the vehicle. Once you press S, it will start downloading the file from the Autel server. We'll download the new programming file. And once it's done, it will show you the latest software version, which is gonna be updated into the system. And then it will update the system, update the control module with the new program. And then automatically it will pass through by coding, doing the SCN coding along with it. And once the programming and the SCN coding is completed, and once you press continue, you will be taken to the teach-in drive authorization system, which is the teach-in process. So once the new module has been changed, it is necessary that we need to do a teach-in process or calibration, as you can say. So there are 3 steps for teach-in process here. One is deactivate the transportation protection, then personalization and activation. So we'll go through one by one. As we have released the transport protection, then we have to do the personalization and activation of the control module. Once you press continue, the next screen asks you to check the VIN number stored in the control module. So it will display the VIN number which is stored in the control module. Make sure this is the right VIN number stored in the control module. In case if you're using a used control module, make sure you input the right one, or else you might find confusions in the future stages, even though the programming might carry out normally. So we have unlocked the control module. Now we have to proceed to personalize the control module. So on personalizing the control module, it will ask you certain configurations that has to be done. So, and we have activated the control module right after that personalization procedure. So we can see that the control module electronic transmission control is securely assigned to the vehicle and cannot be personalized any longer. So the personalization process is over. And the last process for it is to teach in. Since this is a transmission control module, so the last teach-in process is selection range sensor. So we are going to configure the selection range by engaging different gear positions. So the tool will instruct you to engage to neutral gear, then to reverse gear, then to drive, and the teach-in process is succeeded. So that's all for programming control unit for transmission control unit. And you get a completed action plan, which says that programming of the control module has been completed, coding has been completed, and the teaching process has been completed. And it gives you important notes which says that erase all the DTCs present, and it is normal to have DTCs once after the programming is over on the respective control module, and make sure you erase that before you leave the vehicle out of your garage. So, and system programming may cause the parking assist system to stop working. If a DTC is to be cleared, turn the power off, remove the key, and wait for at least 10 minutes. So the thing is, carry out these instructions properly as the device is, so that in order to avoid any sort of programming failures. Okay, so now the second example is for when we don't have an old control module. So we are going to program a new control module without retrieving any data from the old control module. So in the preconditions to be met for this one, this is the new control module is required to be fitted. And as in the system, we are going to program an electronic stability program module. So the preconditions change according to the modules which we are going to program. So in this one, the brake system is required to be bled and filled with the brake fluid. The vehicle is required to be standing horizontally on the flat surface. The parking brake is required to be released. The vehicle must be unladen. The tires are required to be inflated according to the tire pressure chart. So respective to the electronic stability programming procedure, we need to make sure we meet all these conditions. And above all that, the first thing that has to be done is the new control module is required to be fitted into the vehicle. And after that, continuing, an adequate power supply is required. As we said, voltage supply is very important. And you will be led through a step-by-step process, which includes control module programming, SCN coding, and teaching process. So there is the only part which we are skipping from the previous example is that we are not going to retrieve any data from the old control module. So when to perform an intro startup after replacing a new control module. So only after we replace it to a new control module, we do this process. So retrieving the data from that control module, which is the replaced control module I meant. So reading the data from it, once it's read, we get the new software version. From the server, we download the software version, which is to be installed into the control module. And once we press yes, the programming starts. And once the programming is done, the whole process is done. So it shows you all the process has been completed, and the last process will be the teaching process. And once that's done, you get the completed action plan again, like before. So all these processes will be continued along, and we don't need to switch on to a different menu to choose everything. So it is like a procedure, and the device does it for you. You just need to read it through and press buttons accordingly. So once all the procedure is done of programming, let it be with the old control module or only the new control module. So in either options, you will need to do a fault scan. So once you do a fault scan, you can see electronic stability program as 4 fault codes, and make sure you do a quick erase of all the fault codes. And as we have gone through this far, I just want to show you how the function menu is shown in each control module once we enter choose the vehicle. So you can get different ECU informations, trouble codes, live data, active test, and control unit adaptation. So ECU information provides you a lot of information which is stored into the ECU, which I will give you an example in the coming slide. Trouble codes you might already know. It's to read all the trouble codes present in that ECU. Live data, again, I'll give you an example on that. It gives you live instant data from the sensors connected to that control module. Active test is actuate component for function test. So this is the ECU information. So you can see, you can get different sort of information, including the hardware number, software number, control unit variant, the part number, everything. So it's very informative, especially when you do a programming and see what have changed in the system, what information have been changed in the system. It is good to verify those. And trouble codes, yes, you can check trouble codes. You can see a good tip from my side. Current and stored, when you read DTCs, the current and stored fault codes are usually the ones which are not solved. So, and it will reoccur again. The stored ones are the ones which were stored once, and those might be just bugs. And you can try doing a quick erase, and that will be solved. That will be erased and might not come back. Live data is getting to view all the actual value directly from the control module. So it reads out different data for you. You can see if all the sensors are functioning properly. Active test is again testing that particular component. For example, electronic stability program, maybe electronic parking brake, or you can check if the electronic parking brake is working fine. So you can do an active test on that and see if it's working fine without actually engaging the switches in the car. So now let's talk about control unit adaptations. So control unit adaptations, basically, as I've told you, two modes, which is updating the software calibration number or updating the control module software. So on updating the control module software, it retrieves the control module data and download the latest version of the software from the Autel server and put it into the system, and it does the programming as well as it does the SCN coding. So, and at the end on the action plan, it will tell you as always, just to so this is basically you are updating to the latest version of the software. So nothing more than that. You don't have to really replace anything for this. So you want to update to the latest version. So it gives a good added value to it. So it gives you the complete the action plan, and once it's completed, it's done. You can go to the auto scan and erase the DTCs. And teach-in process. So without going through the programming, coding, all these through, if you just want to do calibration or do a teach-in process, you can straight away come into the teach-in process and choose the component which you want to calibrate. And it will show you the teach-in process is required to be carried out after the replacement of the following components. So in case if you have replaced anything related, the control module of the ESP or the left electronic parking brake or the right electronic parking brake actuator, you can carry on this procedure. So it will do the calibration procedure on its own, and you can press continue. Once you press continue, it will give you the results once it's succeeded. So make sure you achieve all the requirements before you proceed to the calibration, because or else it might lead to component failures. So for this case, it includes the brake system is required to be bled and filled with brake fluid. The parking brake is required to be released. Secure the vehicle to a stop it from rolling away. So make sure we follow these instructions before we carry out any sort of calibration or programming procedure. So another thing which I want to tell you at this point is, as you already saw, we don't really, we have different set of menus if you want to do programming at different conditions. For example, once you do initial startup, we have two options, including we either with the old control, retrieving the data from the old control module, or without retrieving data from the new old control module. So we have options for that. We have options for calibrations or teaching process without even carrying out all the programming procedure. So now once we come back to the main menu, you might have noticed we have another option called retrofit. As people who have already watched my BMW online programming video might know what retrofit means. So similarly in Mercedes-Benz, we have the same feature. This is basically, retrofit is basically to change or retrieve unlock certain functions in your car. So for example, if you wanna, as you can see, the different number of options you have. So basically you can configure these systems into a different way you want it to be. You can switch on the keyless go function if you want, switch it on, switch it off, eco start stop function. For example, many people doesn't like the eco start off and on function. So where the engine stops while you brake. So many people don't like that. So they want to completely switch off that feature from the car. We have an option for that. So power tailgate, you can customize a lot of things from the retrofit option. Also, if you're upgrading certain hardwares in the car, you can come to this option to enable that function. So for example, once we choose set unit, you can see different units you can change. So for example, the pressure unit, temperature unit, fuel consumption unit, mileage unit. So for example, for the pressure, for when we fill a tire pressure, it usually might be seen on kPa or bar or PSI. So if you want to change it to one of this, you can change it here. So, and for example, for fuel consumption, if you want it in miles per gallon or kilometer per liter, you can change it accordingly. Even for mileage, if your car is imported from a different country, for example, from the US to the GCC, so you can convert it to miles per hour to, if it's a digital one, you can convert it to miles per hour to kilometer per hour. So eco start stop function, you can switch off, disable and enable this function if you want. Keyless go function. So this is what we do in retrofits. And long story short, so steps to perform programming. So first thing what we do is select the control module which we want to program. For example, engine control module, transmission control module, whichever control module you want to program. Then download the related document from the server. So it will automatically guide you through the downloading the file from the Autel server for programming that control module. And then we perform the programming. Then it automatically performs the SCN coding for that control module, and it instructs you how to carry out the teaching process. So that's all we need to do for programming a control or module on a Mercedes-Benz. And that is the end to the session. Thank you so much for joining. I hope it was informative, and wait for us for more interesting training sessions in the future. And you will get the recorded version of this webinar on your emails. Everyone who have registered will get it. And also it will be uploaded onto our Autel IMEA Facebook page and YouTube channel.